At Ameren, Missouri, we know what light can do. It draws people together and chases monsters away. And if you shine it in the right direction, it will light the path for the next generation, showing them what their tomorrow could look like, and spotlighting the possibilities that lay in front of them. Investing in our community by lighting the way forward. That's energy at work. Ameren, Missouri.
Looking to get quality insurance at a price you can afford? Now you can, thanks to CFM Insurance. Select from our broad range of farm, home, and rental property coverage. Find an agent right in your local area, as CFM is represented by a network of 200 independent agencies throughout Missouri. For personal and dependable service from a company with a history of insuring the families of Missouri that dates back to 1869, visit WeInsureMissouri.com and find an agent near you today.
Welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics from the State Fair in Sedalia, Missouri. We are here in the historic Coliseum building on the grounds of the State Fair. The historic building built in 1906, but we're really here with the governor of the state of Missouri, Mike Parson. Welcome back to the show.
Good to be here, Scott. Good to be here, and great to be here at the State Fair.
The State Fair. This is the perfect backdrop to interview you. Tell us, though, how you're getting settled in, how everything's going.
You know what? Everything's going well. You know, it really is, for the way everything transpired and the way the transitions went. I've been very fortunate to have some really good people around me. I've got some great people helping me. And I think it's important also, Scott, one thing I want to say today to the listening audience is how many people reached out to me, former governors, former chief of staff, different people across the state, different parties, reached out and wanted to know if there was any way they could help or with advice or anything to help with that transition. And it was humbling to get that, and so many good people trying to do what's right for Missouri. But you know, it's full steam ahead right now. You know, we're focusing on an agenda. I'm focused on trying to be the best governor I can, and really to represent what it is the people want.
Well, you're putting some miles on the car, right?
Yeah, we're traveling a lot over the state. You know, it's important to me to listen to people, and you know, it's kind of neat too. You get to go to Kansas City, St. Louis, where our big urban areas are. And I actually, one of the things that was kind of fun too is I met with some of the 15th poorest counties in the state to talk about their needs and how they viewed things differently in Missouri. And you know, those things just will make you a better governor to understand what their needs are and to figure out some ways to see if you can help or you give them the tools to be successful.
So we're here at the State Fair. Tell folks about your special connection to the State Fair. I'm not sure there were a group of Missourians happier to see you become governor than the folks at the State Fair.
Well, the State Fair's got a tremendous history here, over 100 years. And I remember coming here as a kid with my parents and doing a little picnic out there in them parking lots. And actually at the time we couldn't even, I didn't know why we had a picnic outside, but it was really because my folks couldn't afford to buy stuff inside the fairgrounds. But I remember as a kid, man, what a delight it was to come to State Fair and see the best of the best in agriculture in the state, and just to grow up with it and be around it. It's just, it's a fun day for me.
But to see the folks and their reaction to you here, you know, you came to the governor's office in a unique way. It almost feels like, in a way, an inauguration for you. I mean, these folks are truly folks that I think have supported you. And when I mentioned to somebody, I think you'd be here whether you were governor or not.
Yeah, and I would have been. But you know, last night we had the governor's wine reception, huge crowd there. I think they had a record number at the ham breakfast this morning. I had the opportunity to speak in front of farmers and ag people across the state. And you know, it's just an honor to do that and to represent them and to have those core values of who we are in agriculture.
You've been to St. Louis, you've been to Kansas City. What's the chances next year getting Mayor Sly James and Mayor Lyda Cruz to the State Fair?
You know what? Probably a real good chance. They've been offering to help. That's a good idea, Scott. I'll do that. You know, one thing I want to say about both mayors too, that they've been really great to be able to communicate with the governor's office and to do their outreach part. You know, I think, as you well know, I've agreed to go to St. Louis and Kansas City to kind of see what their issues are, but they've also agreed to go with me to rural Missouri. So we're going to be going down probably in the Boot Hill area some, but it's important they know what's like in rural Missouri for a lot of situations we have. So, you know, those kind of reach outs, those kind of things that are trying to make us better from the governor's office, that's what I'm really focused on.
If you're going to get to the Boot Hill, you're going to have to get on the highways. Something you've talked about is infrastructure. There's a measure on ballot in November. You're in favor. Why?
Yeah, you know what? We've kicked this can down the road so long about putting off infrastructure in our state. The last time we did anything for infrastructure was when then Governor Ashcroft, one of the most conservative governors we ever had, passed a use fee there at the gas pumps when he was governor. But you know, we got a real problem out there, and you know, we got to start talking about 4,800 bridges that's got problems and needs repairs. And our highway systems, our airports, and our river ports are going to be huge in rail. But when you talk infrastructure, you also got to talk about the internet, you got to talk about utilities. But if we really want to move Missouri forward, we're going to have to meet that challenge. And I hope that people will understand how important this is in November, make sure that we have a plan as governor and what that plan is, so people are going to be somewhat convinced that, hey, this is the right thing to do, and we're going to spend it, you know, the way it should be spent, very efficient, and making sure we're doing what the Missouri needs, meet those Missouri needs.
Well, some issues are not things you can fit in a tweet or a Facebook post. You've talked about workforce development. When I hear business folks, they need employees. They have jobs, they just don't have maybe workers that can start them with the right skills. How do you break that down and make someone understand what an issue that is?
You know what, I think people are starting to realize that. I mean, when I told you I met with those 15 poor counties, they were talking the same issues that the mayor of Kansas City was talking. I mean, those issues are the same all over the state of Missouri, is what we're going to do in workforce development. And we really got to reform the way we do things, the education system, the criteria. And I think we really have to go in and take a look, like at middle school, for example, and high school, and really start teaching our kids what the workforce is going to be like. And I think the only way you're going to do that is bring businesses into criteria of education, that we really transform the way we teach kids. And what is that job market out there 10, 15 years down the road now for those kids that are in school? And I think that's huge, and I think there's a huge opportunity.
When you talk about workforce, Right to Work was on the ballot in August.
Right.
Went down pretty big, even in places like Pettis County, where we are today.
Right.
If you were given some advice, and I know you know better than most the separate branches, would you advise the legislature to go back at it or to give it a little time?
Yeah, you know, for me, it's pretty simple. The voters spoke loud and clear. Yeah. I mean, you didn't miss what they said. So for me, it's moving forward. You know, and instead of Right to Work, I'm going to be talking about infrastructure. I'm going to talk about workforce development, things that I feel like we need to move forward on. So I don't know what the legislators will do. That'll be up to them. But for me, you know, the voters spoke. I'm moving forward.
Talk about one thing the legislature did do was tax cuts. What do those mean, and how do you take a person and explain it to him why that actually matters, not just to his paycheck, but to the state overall?
Yeah, well, I think anytime you do a real tax cut, what I would consider a real tax cut, to put money in people's pockets, that's what people see. That's what the everyday worker out here sees. You can talk about all kinds of tax cuts, but if he doesn't feel it in his wallet, or that he doesn't have spending money to go out and spend it, you know, that's how you sell tax cuts, and that's why that tax cut was so important. And you combine what we did in Missouri with the federal tax cut they did, you're talking now putting something like $1,400, $1,500, $1,600 in somebody's pocket. Now that's big for a working class family. That's real money in Butler
County, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Just like you said, all over the state, and I don't care who you are. Somebody's, you know, going to let you keep $1,600 more of your money. I guarantee you're going to take it all day long.
Let's talk about another election coming up in November. Josh Hawley's on the ballot running for U.S. Senate. He was at the ham breakfast this morning. You're going to be out helping him, and why should folks support him?
Yeah, you know what? I'm definitely going to be helping Josh. I think there's time that needs to be a change made up there. You know, you got a president of the United States doing a lot of great things, and I think you got to give him all the tools he needs to be successful. But I think Josh Hawley's a good young man that's going to do the right thing. I think his values are more lined up with who Missourians are, and I'm going to be out there supporting him all the way.
You know, to Claire McCaskill's credit, I'm sure she assumed you'd be doing that. You reached out to her and brought her, and she was in the governor's office. Right. I thought that was an interesting thing, maybe a testament to both of you.
Right. Well, you know what? Look, she's the sitting senator. She's a U.S. senator right now. You know, she has an effect on where Missouri goes also. So, you know, take politics aside. I'm the governor of the state of Missouri. She's a U.S. senator. Everything we can do to work together to make Missouri better, we should both be doing. And the politics will take care of themselves. But it's just important to me to have those relationships, because a lot of things can happen between now and the first year.
So let's talk about a person that you did select. You had a chance to select lieutenant governor, a job you knew a little bit about.
Right.
You selected Mike Kehoe.
Right.
Why'd you do that?
You know, one of the things, I thought Mike was very qualified to do it. The other thing was I thought he could hit the ground running. And it was important to me to get that over with very quickly once the transition happened. And I know Mike's feelings on infrastructure and workforce development, and I think it was a real opportunity for us to work together. And it has been so long, truly, since the lieutenant governor and the governor of the state of Missouri have worked together for common interest. Yes, yeah. And I think it's a plus. And I told Mike when I give that appointment, I said, listen, I'm going to expect you to do a lot more than the other lieutenant governor's ever done, including when I was lieutenant governor. But I want you to go to work and put your boots on, because you're
It
headed
looked
there.
like from the state fair to the PGA to different parts around the state, you two are almost making circles around each other. You know?
Yeah, you know, he's out there working hard, and we're out there working hard. So, and we had a great event with the PGA. You brought that up in St. Louis. What a great showcase that was for that region of our state and the people that come there. And I've compared those two. When the PGA come here, it was a great showcase for Missouri and our fans and who we were. But there's probably several 100,000 people come to that event. But all of a sudden, here I am this week at the State Fair, another 300,000 or 400,000 people will go through the gates of the State Fair. So it's been a great week for Missouri.
Talk one more thing. There was a development. Both colleges extended the presidents. I think maybe higher education is going in the right direction for the first time in a long time on both ends of the state.
Right, and the reason they're going in a good direction is because of leadership. Yeah. Both of those gentlemen, President Choi, Cliff Smart, know them both real well, good guys. If there was ever two guys that I could think of deserve an extension right now, both of those are. But I'm telling you right now, Scott, in these universities right now, we got some pretty good leadership out there. I've had the opportunity to meet with a lot of them now and talk to them, but I think we're headed in the right direction. And I also think they know how important workforce is, and that they're going to play a part in that. But they also got to realize
We're right here at State Fair Community College. I mean, there's a bunch of aspects to what you just said.
Right, and they got to make changes. I mean, there's got to be things that they make changes in their criteria and how they're developing, but I think they understand that. I just think I'm so optimistic. There's some real opportunity for the state of Missouri. If we'll all work together and stay focused, I think we can really change the way Missouri is.
Before we take a break, I want to ask you the last question. I think maybe the biggest thing I've noticed, just a different tone. You've done a lot to maybe change the tone of the not just amongst parties, but even inside the Republican Party. Break down what you thought. That had to be some part of a strategy, because it came through pretty clear. You know,
one of the things, Scott, and where I'm at in my career and where I am in life in general, I pretty well am who I am. I mean, I'm not going to change much. What you see is what you get. And to me, I was smart enough to go in to realize, okay, look, first thing you got to do is build relationships if you want to move forward. And it doesn't matter whether you're in private business or private life. Relationships matter. And for me, that's what it was all about. I had to go in there and I had to build up relationships that, for whatever reason, wasn't built up like they should have been. It was important to me to be transparent with the media. And sometimes that's not always fun. Sometimes, you know, that can be a tough time. But the reality of it was, I wanted people to know what we're doing, why we're doing it, and when we're going to do it. So I'll take my shots when the day comes. But I think for the most part, we want to be very, very open, very transparent. And we want to move forward and let people in Missouri know that how proud I am and how much I love this state.
Well, we're going to bring in probably the real boss of the Parsons administration, the First Lady. We'll bring him in after this.
All across Missouri, our new car and truck dealers are building strong local economies. When you buy a car or truck in Missouri, you're helping to support over 20,000 Missouri families who rely on the auto industry for good-paying local jobs. You're also helping fund our communities, schools, first responders, and our roads, because dealers generate millions of dollars in tax revenue. Missouri's automobile dealers have been the foundation of our communities for generations and for generations to come. The Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, the heart of Missouri.
Looking to get quality insurance at a price you can afford? Now you can, thanks to CFM Insurance. CFM specializes in a broad range of farm, home, and rental property coverage. Find an agent right in your local area, as CFM is represented by over 150 independent agents throughout Missouri for friendly, personal, dependable service from a well-respected leader in the insurance industry. Visit cfmutual.com/agents and find an agent near you today.
Welcome back to This Week of Missouri Politics from the State Fair in Sedalia. We are here in the Coliseum building, built in 1906. We're now joined by the First Lady of the State of Missouri, Teresa Parsons. Thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here, Scott.
So you actually probably have to run the place. I see you two together all the time. And I guess the first thing I think folks probably want to know is about you. Where are you from? What'd you do before you were First Lady?
Well, I'm from Bolivar, Missouri, born and raised in Bolivar, and actually I retired in 2016 to actually start on the campaign trail with Mike, and so I've been following him around ever since, retired from banking.
It is a big state. I mean, I think people that we all live in our part of Missouri and we travel to places like Sedalia, but I mean, it's actually quicker. You take where Representative Greg Razor grew up in Cooter, Missouri, you can get to the Gulf of Mexico faster than Atchison County. It is, and you've seen the whole thing, the whole part of it now.
That's right. I've been to little towns that I've only heard of before, and now I can actually say I've been there and through them, and many beautiful little towns and different areas across our state. It's been wonderful.
So when you take this job and you've been around politics as long as you have, you've been to the state fair many times, many of the governor's ham breakfasts, many the pie eating contest. What's it like to, now that you're in charge of it?
Well, it's about the same, exciting. We still go to the same places. We make the same stops we did in past years and enjoy all of the fair. We always have. And I, like Mike, we used to come to the fair as children and go out and eat on the back of the car or truck bed and then come back into the fair and spend the rest of the afternoon there.
Governor, you've probably been to how many governors' ham breakfasts at the state fair?
Many.
This time it was you. That might have been that's the biggest turnout I've ever seen. Most of the folks think that's probably the most people that's ever came.
Yeah.
That had to
Right.
feel like a little bit of an embrace from a lot of folks in the state of
You know
Missouri.
what, we're both humbled every day when you go out there and see a crowd like that out there and people are wishing you well, wanting you to do so well for the state of Missouri, and their heart's like our heart is. We want Missouri to do well. We want it to do better. And I mean, that was just a show of support this morning. I think over 1,000 people were there this morning, and like I said, it's humbling, needless to say. But the other thing that inspires both, me and the First Lady both, we talked about this before. It means, hey, you got to work hard. We want to work harder to meet the goals. We got a narrow window of time to be the governor and First Lady here, and we're going to do the best we can to do right by Missourians.
Okay, but enough of that. I think most folks want to know, how did a guy that looks like him get you to go out with him? How did you guys actually meet?
Well, it's a little unique, unusual story, I guess. I waited on Mike at the bank way back and took his deposits through the drive-through teller window when he was making his deposit for his gas station at the time. He actually went back to the gas station, and unknown to him at the time, he had a lady working for him that was his second cousin, my second cousin rather, and he said something about the lady up at the bank, and she said, "I know that lady." She gave me a phone call and wanted to know if I would go out with her boss, if he would call me. And my quick reply to her was, "Well, Renee, he's going to have to ask me to find that answer out."
Oh, maybe more for it. Did you notice his deposits were a little smaller and more frequent after a while?
No, I didn't.
So there's been a lot of things written, and everybody's got an opinion on the role of the governor. The role of the First Lady is kind of a different thing. How do you view your role, and what do you want to accomplish in it?
Well, I do have some initiatives that I've established. My role, and I will follow through and do that, but I think my take of being the governor's wife possibly is a little different than some people possibly, in that, I want to be as supportive to the governor as possible. Help him out in whatever way that I can, and then I'll also enjoy some initiatives and work on some programs and things for myself, and I also want to open the mansion up to the people and the state of Missouri a lot more.
It's a beautiful place.
It is.
And in today's time when you have so many security concerns, different things like that, how do you go about doing that? Because it's an honor to go to the governor's mansion no matter who you are, but Missouri has such a beautiful mansion and grounds.
It does, and we're enjoying every day that we're there. And
I like the rocking chair.
That was something that that was probably our only request, is it possible to have some chairs on the front porch? And
I saw my buddy from the Cattlemen's Association. He took his picture there. That could become a running thing. Folks want to get their picture in that chair.
We enjoy going out there and sitting at night.
Governor, I've known the both of you for a long time. I see your wife with you more than traveling, more places than I mostly see other First Ladies or even when you're Lieutenant Governor, when you're in the Senate. How important is that to you? I mean, it's got a. It looks like
It's really important. It's huge. You know, we've always worked together our entire careers, whether it be on the farm, whether it be in small business, whether it's raising a family. And for her to be with you on the road as much as she can be, it's always good. You know, it's always good. It's just like you get 2 for 1 when you got the governor there, because she's going to be traveling with me a lot when she feels like it. And there's just so much good she can do. I mean, there's no doubt, and I'd be the first to say, if people had the choice between me and her when we're out traveling around and everything, she'd be the most popular one. I'm already starting to have a problem.
Applauses are a little louder than
I'm
yours.
starting to
Maybe
get a
longer.
complex with that, but that's all right. She deserves them. I'm telling you, it's been a rough road for her. You know, over the years, you know, being sheriff, being in long hours in business, farming, and being in the political life. You know, one thing I think it's tough on your wives sometimes. Tough on your wives, your kids back home when you're in this arena.
It's fashionable to bash politicians, and I think that, you know, demagogues take those opportunities. But Bollimer's an hour and a half, right, from Jeff City?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go home at night if you're working in Jeff City. It is a different strain, and I think sometimes people overlook there is a personal toll to doing those jobs because you can't be 2 places at once, right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, to me, it's an interesting thing. People will look at politicians, want to bash them, but that politician and that person in office signed up for that. The spouse has to do a whole different thing on the home front. I think people overlook that part of people in government's lives.
But it's very humbling too, Scott, and you know, it's something that I enjoy, and I enjoy people and enjoy meeting people, and it's a good life.
So when you talk about coming into this office, there's been a definite change in tone and things, and I think part of that I've seen you. That's a lot of the tone I hear out of him is the tone I've had in conversations with you. How much of that? How many of these things do you talk about, policy-wise, or just more about how he can actually communicate what he wants to do?
On the policy side of it, she's well aware of kind of what our agenda is. She knows how important, for example, infrastructure, workforce development is, and how much education is going to play a role in that. And I think that's where she can be very supportive when it comes to other wives, other women across the state of Missouri, to help with that message. And I think that's one of the things for me as the governor. You know, I don't have to do all that all the time. You know, I got a wife that's willing to help, willing to engage on some of those issues. So when she's out there talking to other ladies and other people across the state, you know, that's an advantage for us at the governor's office. And you know, she does well, and we're going to utilize that.
So the Governor Parson appointed the lieutenant governor. He selected Mike Kehoe from Jeff City. Tell folks a little bit about his wife, Mrs. Kehoe.
Claudia Kehoe and I have known each other since Mike has been in the Senate, and we have a great relationship, and you're going to see Claudia and I working and doing a lot of events and things together.
Are you
going to
be able to bring her over to being a Cardinals fan?
I don't know about that.
So tell me something that most people do not know about Governor Parson.
Well, I don't know that I can tell a lot of people, if they know Mike very well, very many things different, because he is who he is to start with. He's a loving husband, father, grandfather, and he's a patriot, and everyone knows he loves this state, and that's the most important traits that he has, and I think most people know that about him, Scott.
That's a perfect First Lady answer right there. She did well on that.
No, it's true.
But I will tell you what she didn't tell you with my 5 grandkids. Over the years, normally if they're in trouble, I'm in trouble. And that's just kind of the way it goes around the house. So there's that side of me most people don't get to see.
I think a lot of people describe you as authentic, and I think a lot of people describe most politicians as inauthentic. Do you think the fact that you're able to have your wife travel with you to places, not just here where you live and you're from, but I've seen her in all over the state with you, do you think that helps keep you a little more grounded about things? She's probably not as impressed that you're governor as other folks, maybe.
No, she's not impressed because I'm that governor, I can tell you. Very supportive of that, but yeah, it is. It's a good message to send. And I think for us, when we talk about family values and who we are, you know, it's important that you set the example for that. And I think that's one of the things we really try to do to make sure that the next generations at least have role models they can take a look at someday. And I hope when everybody looks back on it someday that they say, you know, Mike and Teresa, you know, when they were in that mansion, you know, they did a pretty good job. If they say that, I'll be very content with the job I done, but that's what we'd look for.
You know, specifically though in closing, when they said they did a pretty good job, give me what you actually, when you think of something that could be done that you could do for the state in your time as governor, what is something you could accomplish and feel good about?
You know, that's an easy one, is for the next generation. It's to make sure that kids and the next generations have the opportunities I've had. Because me and Teresa truly have been blessed and fortunate in our careers to live the American dream. It's what it's all about. It's what I served the country for when I was in the military, but really just to pass that down. That'll be what I'll focus on the entire time as governor, to make sure they have opportunities. What they do with them opportunities, we don't know, but give them the opportunity, Scott. Most of us have got to live the American dream. I want to make sure somebody else gets to live.
Last question. It was a quality first pitch you threw out at Busch Stadium. You threw it from the mound. Your decision, did the staff, were they nervous about it, or?
Well, the staff was freaking out. You know, the staff, the only thing they could tell me is don't throw it in the dirt. Which what you really wanted to hear when you go. But I will add, it was a strike.
Yeah.
Talking to Mike Shannon, first inning, grand slam, and they've been on a winning streak ever since. So, you know, you got to take all that into factor.
And you know I would know if they weren't, and they are. And maybe by the time people watch this, they'll be in first place in the wild card. But thank you, Ms. Partridge. Thank you for joining us, Governor Partridge. Thank you for joining us this week in Missouri Politics.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for having us here.
We've been here at the State Fair for this week in Missouri Politics this week. I want to take 1 second and tell everybody about a new project we're working on. It's called Show Me Missouri. I think this governor would know. You actually say the state's name, Missouri. We're going to every county in the state once a week to tell the history of that county and the history of the state, one county at a time. Go to Show Me Missouri, just like it should be said.com, or find us on the Missouri Times or the TV show's Facebook page, Twitter feeds, or web pages. And I think you'll be interested. There's a lot of stories about Polk County, Butler County, every county in between. It's something we're very excited about. So go to MissouriTimes.com, and I think you'll enjoy going through the history of Missouri one county at a time each week. Till then, we'll see you next week in the studio. Big announcement coming next week on This Week in Missouri Politics.
This Week in Missouri Politics, sponsored by CFM Insurance, the Missouri Association of Career Fire Protection Districts, Spire, and Sterling Bank.
Prevailing wage, I think, is greatly misunderstood. Senate and legislature are trying to take a pro-business attitude right now, but I think they've missed the point on prevailing wage. It's a wage that the working man is going to be able to use to support his family, to be able to have a decent life. He's not going to have to live paycheck to paycheck, and he's not going to be able to be taken advantage of.
These guys are out there every day hitting it hard, so why would you begrudge a guy a decent wage to be out there working very, very hard? Plus, you need a skilled man or woman to do this kind of work. You don't want anybody just coming in and doing work on your public buildings because the quality goes down.
You're going to see workers coming from other states coming in. That's going to take money away from Missouri contractors.
It does not make sense to get rid of a prevailing wage. Go for the best that you can in Missouri, and not for the lowest and the worst.
When my baby girl was diagnosed with depression, I didn't think it was a real disease. I didn't get her any medication or therapy because I thought she would grow out of it. I wish I'd helped my baby. Depression is a disease, and there is hope.
We can help. Find out more